Hello and welcome to everybody who is joined in the show. I'm Devashish Basu, trustee of Moneylife Foundation and editor of Moneylife magazine. I am absolutely delighted today to welcome Mr. V.A. George, chairman of Thejo Engineering Limited, in this special series of interviews that we are doing in the run-up to the inaugural yearly Corporate Governance Awards of Moneylife Foundation. Thejo Engineering is one of the 5 finalists of 2021. These awards are unique because they are completely merit-based and chosen from the recommendations by some of the most insightful investors in India. And these are institutional investors, analysts, and as well as large individual investors. Thank you, Mr. George, for agreeing to participate in this conversation with me and Bala, who is a Moneylife columnist and a well-known market expert with over 4 decades of experience in investment, research, credit rating, and fund management. Mr. George,
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. The inclusion of Thejo was very interesting because it is listed in the SME segment of the market, where disclosure requirements themselves are so low. You only have to file, 6 monthly results and so on, whereas the disclosure requirements are much more onerous for the main board. So it is to your great credit and your team's great credit that Thejo, despite this, has come up as one of the finalists, one of the top 5 this year, beating so many big guns in the corporate world who are there in Nifty, Nifty 100, Nifty 500, and so on. So congratulations once again. And I would say small is beautiful. You have proved that, most certainly. And we look forward to more SMEs joining as they take inspiration from Thejo and the remarkable work that you've done over the past decade or so. We would like this to be very, very conversational. I don't know where the audience wonders when we'll ever end. So as we mentioned, we would like you to share some of the interesting stories or episodes that that perhaps tested your belief on how business is done in India, because as we know, it's very, very tough, and it's probably getting easier, but it was really much tougher when you had started.
First of all, thank you, Devashish and Moneylife. It was a pleasant surprise for us. One of our investors mailed me saying that we are one of the top finalists. I didn't know about this till that point of time. Subsequently, I went through, and I congratulate you for thinking of such an award, not because we are among the top 5. I think corporate governance is something which needs a lot more attention, recognition, and corporate world needs much more than our regulation. So I'm indeed happy, and we are humbled by your choice, from the SME coming in. And talking about our regulatory requirement, as you mentioned, is much lesser compared to regular exchange. We are not, I think our stories will be much more interesting, a free chat.
Yes.
So I think in my career, personally, I'll link it with that. Initial part, when in the senior management team of big corporates, I was earlier part of it. And we always used to believe that compliance is for regulation satisfying. No, it's just to comply with the regulation.
Checklist.
And compliance has a cost effect. So how much you can minimize the cost, how just satisfy the compliance, that is what your smartness. So right. It is a cost. It is a cost. Regulation or governance is a cost. But to tell you, last 15 years, I have personally made a U-turn. I think compliance has a value premium. You do much more than what has been stipulated. Good governance have a governance premium. Investors value it, the society values it, and therefore we feel we should be ahead of what the regulator stipulates. And we have practiced it here. We have a long way to go. Having said that, we do have fairly audited accounts. We give a lot of disclosure which companies on the main board do. We are now, by March, I have set an agenda that we will be doing quarterly results. We will move to Indies, and we will comply with everything the main board has to do, so that it is for the benefit of us. Now, see, absolutely, when we look at it, we are on the SME board or on the main board. What way it makes a difference for the investor for me? See, his money is utilized
Yes.
by us. We are obliged to give it him. They are pushing. It's very interesting. Many of the investors say, please move to the main board, main board. I asked them why. No, main board they expect perceived to be better. I said, why can't we do it here? I think this is where I talk to regulators also. SME now, one of the restriction is the minimum investment should be 1 lakh as the minimum investment. I request them, when some company is on your SME board, entry time, keep that high level. I agree. But you see 3-4 years governance in utilization of funds. When that is, you are able to monitor it satisfies. 50% of your risk is gone. Then you see, are they complying? How is the board? And if the governance is at par with them, allow the investor to have a minimum quantity to be lesser, 10,000, 5,000. So what would happen? Companies which are listed in platform like Emerge will continue there and flourish unless there is a need for them to move to the bigger one. So I
Right.
think regulators should look at Emerge platform itself, people who follow all the norms of main board, allow them and reduce the lot size so that
Right.
investor gets benefited. No, this is one
Absolutely.
point I wanted to mention. Looking at governance, I mentioned, I said there is a governance premium, and I believe in that. The person who made this, instilled this in my mind was another great personality I would like to remember. He was late R.K. Talwar. I'm sure you would have heard about him. He was the former chairman of youngest chairman of SBI, IDBI, who could
Yes.
say no to the then prime ministers, both
Prime
Indira
Minister.
Gandhi and Morarji Desai. So I
Yes.
had a kind, he
And
was my role model. So I wanted to work with him. I changed my career just to be a CEO of a company where he was the chairman. So 10 years I was
really?
with him. Yes, and
Wow.
that was the best years in my career. I have to say, learned a lot. Two instances of governance, what I picked up, I will tell you here. It is much
Sure.
more relevant for us to discuss.
Sure.
So this was a financial service company set up by a leading sugar industry. I was a CEO. I was with him. When I met him before joining, I said, "Sir, I would love to work with you, but this industrial group set up NBFCs to fund their own financial activity. Do you think we professionals will be able to grow it?" He said, "George, remember one thing. The moment the promoter, you don't allow him to be a borrower, you can run it professionally. Many a time, these companies will ask them to borrow because he want to increase his balance sheet size. So then, promoter borrowing, he will not evaluate it. Later on, ownership and borrowing together conflict will come in and spoil.
Right.
If you don't do it, I said, I don't want to do, you tell me. So let us make a clear distinction today. Owners of this company will get shareholders dividend, nothing more. We will run it. I am the chairman. If you are there, we will work together. I joined. And the first interesting thing is we went for a public issue in 93, and the bomb blast was there just prior to the issue was opening in Bombay, that I can still remember. Issue was successful, and I was feeling very happy. We had an issue. 3 days after, we were not been listed, but issue was 3-4 times oversubscribed. But just before, prior to the day of listing, I saw a news in Economic Times. Government is asking IDBI to lend 5,000 crores through NBFCs for transport operators, infrastructure funding to revive the economy. So then I thought we have finished the issue. So we are eligible, rating, everything was there. All norms are fulfilling. I just went to Bombay, met the then GM in charge in IDBI. He said, Mr. George, our condition is that you should be listed. I said, sir, listing will be now, tomorrow it is getting listed, but it's oversubscribed. No, you can check, but I cannot waive that condition. I was feeling bad. When I got up to return, he asked me, who is your chairman? I said, Sri R.K. Talwar. He said, come sit down. He was my chairman. So he said, if he's a chairman in a company, I think it has to have some quality. Then he said, let me see, I can try to get a waiver. And then happens the next drama. So I was very happy. We submitted the application, some 5 crores they sanctioned. It was a good amount. Promoters were very happy because you are going to, after issue, immediately you have leverage. No, that's the whole thing. So I came back. And one of the condition was the promoter group should give a guarantee, corporate guarantee for this loan to be taken. It was a
Right.
normal condition. Everyone used to put, every group who used to do that.
Correct.
So we accepted it. I submitted it to promoters, said yes. And we had a relatively high profile board. And most of them said, yes, we will just clear the group promoter company board. We will have in the morning, we will clear this, and you can have afternoon, take a sanction to our. I was very happy, excited. That day morning, 8 o'clock, Mr. Talwar called me. He was on the board of the main company, parent company, as well as this one. You are the chairman here, you are the independent director there. He said, are you now your office? I said, yes. You please come, George. I am coming there. I said, sir, I will come to your place. No. I am coming there for a board meeting. He walks in and says, there is an agenda in our parent company board meeting to give a corporate guarantee for you for an IDBA loan. Yes, sir, I went there and this is all happened. I'm happy they said. He said, George, I am going to say no to it. Being the chairman of this finance company, I am going to say no to it. I was shocked. I said, why? I said, all of them agreed, the promoter agreed. No, listen, this is your first borrowing after becoming listed. You are a good rating you have. You will be borrowing many more hundreds of crores. So if you start giving a corporate guarantee today for your first loan, every banker will come to know it. So the bankers will ask corporate guarantee and all future loans will have. So in short, the parent company will have a contingent liability, which they need not carry. I am not doing justice to the shareholder of the parent company as an independent director. I have a dual role here. I'm the chairman of this company. I understand your eagerness, but I have equal responsibility.
Wow.
So I will veto it down.
Outstanding.
I could not reply to him. I said, sir, he said, one thing he told me, borrow on your own terms. You are after listing. You should be able to get, you are running it well. I will certify it. Go and tell them. He went for the main board meeting. I just, that those days, telex was the medium, no communication. So I sent a telex to the IDBA head that so and so, your former chairman has said, these are the things. So I request you to waive that condition. Board meeting is going on. Everyone tried to persuade Talwar, let us give this one loan. Then we will not give. He said, no, this one will make the precedence. But to cut it short, before that meeting was over, I got a letter from IDBI that condition is waived. Okay, so see the governance, when we look back, look at that governance, no, independent director's role. No, he had a real conflict. And I believe if I was the chairman, I would have said, okay, my company, let it come in. That is the way he has instilled in me governance. And that continues. Then I spend a lot of time to learn governance, and that's where we are here. Okay.
You started off itself with, in your career, with such absolute clarity of thought from a visionary and a leader like Mr. Talwar. So I'm sure that over the years you have come across many situations where, as I said, doing business in India is very tough.
Yeah.
There are all sorts of demands made on businesses because people don't understand that the entrepreneur is taking a risk, is creating jobs. So for a variety of purposes. What I meant is that different people have had different experiences in doing business in this country. So what has been and how do you handle difficult situations? Let me put it this way.
It's a nice question. I will answer two parts. One, as an individual, how I handled, and then as an organization, how we handled. Two ways, I tell you. From my personal experience, I have worked in organizations where I know there have been corrupt practices, okay? And I have headed some of the departments which you are supposed to have. But to my experience, luckily or fortunately, no one has asked for something or pushed me into that. The learning I have is that people assess you also. Are you honest? Are you gullible? Can you be persuaded or, induced into something? Then they will take their slice of cake, definitely. Otherwise, I think they will think twice before approaching this. That's a personal experience for me. I tell you, this organization I joined when it was a very small SME, some 11 years back. It had some 30 crore turnover. A company doing some work. Two of my friends were there. And we cater to the core sector. the which are the core sectors. I mean, power, coal, mines,
Right.
and they have correct practices. Okay, so when I came here, the first challenge for me, I'll tell that as a case. This organization, we had a major order. It's about at that time 3 crores for a 30 crore turnover company. It's almost 10% of that for
Yes.
supply of splicing kits for their
Right.
conveyor belts.
Right. Right.
And I found out after joining this order, they have taken after giving something, greasing the palms of somebody, etc. I said, but let us do this order well. So I focused on executing it well. Things went on. Midway through, somebody asked something, and I said, no way, there is no issue. I will not allow that. So what happened? We got suddenly a notice. 8 of the splice kits we have manufactured have failed in their conveyor. So the losses runs into so many lakhs. So we have to pay a penalty of some 30, 40 lakhs, plus take away all the splice kits we have supplied to them, because they are big conveyors. So it is specific. I cannot sell it to you. So in short, it will be a damage of close to 1 crore. I felt, this is the point is that contract terms, there was a condition that this splice kit should be inspected by their people in our factory and certify quality, then only we will send it there. It was done. Still, they used this. And I went and met the chairman. I said, what is this? No, this is what we can do. So what I decided was I called the executives, not the promoters, first the executives, and said, shall we fight this? See, as per the contracts, we have a good case. And luckily for us, when they manipulate things, some numerical mistakes they make, we found out that. So we said, with this, shall we fight this? They said, yes, sir, we will fight. Then it was my challenge to discuss with the promoters. Actually, they were very anxious. If this happens, the biggest client we lose, what will you do? I said, the world is big enough. Let us try. They also agreed. So we went for arbitration. It went on for 1.5 years. We won the case and we stopped dealing with them. But the biggest achievement for us was that to prove in the entire organization, you need not do business the way you have been doing. There are other customers with whom you can deal better. So this is one classic case which helped a lot in future. That's what I wanted to. What comes to my mind is all these experience only I can share with you to tell how it happened.
Right, absolutely. At this point, let me welcome Bala, R. Balakrishnan, who is joined in.
Good afternoon, Balakrishnan.
Good afternoon, sir. A pleasure to see you.
I don't know whether you remember, we have met for a brief period, long time back.
What are the kind of decisions that you take it definitely to the independent directors? Because for larger companies, there are acquisitions which...
I think it's nice that I'll start it a different way answering it. When I came here, see, these two were friends, my personal friends. I knew them for 2 decades before joining in. They have been asking me, please come and head this one. So I was with larger corporates. I thought, going there, I have seen many a time, friends will become enemies after you join the company. Yeah. So I have been not resisting that. But we used to meet every 6 months over dinner, discuss issues. Right. And finally, I felt they were asking regular. Then I said, I looked at the company. It had close to 800 employees and 2 promoters who are engineers, practitioners, and good intention that I saw them. The next thing I looked was whether the next generation is interested. Fortunately, I thought one of their sons, one in XLRI and one in Liba. So I knew them also. But they joined the industry, so they are there. So I thought this is a good organization to put in effort to transform. But the challenge was in terms of governance. It was like any other one. So I discussed with them. I said, I come in, but we will have one sitting where I told them, the most important thing is when you professionalize, you have to let it go. The control you took, the decisions you took, you pay that fellow, you don't pay this fellow. That will not happen. If I come in, I will have full control. But we will discuss together every issue, every important issue. final decision you should give me the freedom to take, and it will be our decision. And let us work for a year. If that is not working, I will step away, and then you can continue, because you are asking me so much. Otherwise, it won't work. And then 2-3 other conditions I mentioned. They said all agreed. We had a meeting in Chola. I left. Next day morning, both these gentlemen were in my house early morning with a letter signed by them, putting out these points and agreeing to these conditions. I never asked any letter. I just discussed across. No? And interestingly, I was able to locate that letter day before yesterday when I was searching for something.
Wow.
I'll just show you that one para which will be a very interesting. How I was able to.
We would love to, definitely.
Yeah, I'll just show you. Just a second. I'll just want to see this. Can you read it?
Yeah.
Because Mr. George would be discussing all matters of relevance with the CM, that's the chairman, and MD on a daily basis. But he'll have the full freedom to take final decision in serving the company's affairs. CM and MD offered to give such freedom of action without any hesitation. Go to the last. So at the end, and these were few of the things, and they both signed and gave it to me. I was clean bowled. I knew they mean really commitment to what we have said. No?
Yes.
Okay. So with that, what I told them is, first, governance means we have to have a board. Their boards, our boards were all family members. Both of them, their wives, their children. I said, no, that is not adding value. That is not talent. So they said that was the most difficult part for me in this company, when we look back to reconstitute the board. Right. So what I used was, I needed a point or a trigger to do that. And that is where our fundraising came. Instead of going to private equity, I told them this emerge platform has come, let us go there. And then that needed us to have a board. So we brought in the professionals, and both families, I said, two members you can have who are really working capable. All others went out of the board. We brought in people, and then we said we have to have transparency, shareholders coming. So this was the method I used to make these changes. And also, luckily what happened was, now they have understood. I always tell them, the value creation that happens, the shares price of theirs has gone up, or our companies has gone up. I said, because of that 33% minority shareholders, not by you, not by the 58% held by you, but by those 35%. So take care of them. How you have to take care? We have to have best transparency, comply rules, be honest. Then automatically the trust will improve. That governance premium will be far better than some things you take from this company. So there is, I can tell you, other than remuneration, there is no related party transaction. Absolutely. Whenever something comes up, we will say, can we get it from somebody else? Then why from a related party? Or can that fellow? So you can see, and they have agreed. The whole credit should go to both the promoters, to tell you and their family to realize this. No? Otherwise, I could not have been able to do. They realize. So once they realize and they see the benefits, they become all the more involved in. So we have, when we spend money or in every aspect, recruitment, we were able to bring in governance this way. Luckily, it clicked. That's all I can say. Many times I would have failed also. I don't know.
No, I want to ask you something very, very different. I'm trying to ask you the business. Are you very, very involved in the day-to-day running?
Yes, I am very much involved. Yes.
So, you don't take holidays, or you?
I take holidays. But see, I switch off after a particular time. I am very much interested in sports. I am active in sports. I am interested in arts, music, anything. Yeah, I am not fully getting into, but involved in the sense, key parameters I will look at, important things I look at, and I be in the committees for weekly reviews, major decisions. So, and it's a nice team. Now we have about over a period of 10 years, we have built a core team. So that team takes care of everything. So you don't
you don't have many disagreements to really worry about.
No, we will have very active deliberations, but at the end of the day, that's the first principle we have said. Let us have challenge, argue, disagree. But once a decision is taken, it is our decision, not A's or B's or majorities. Right in the board as well as in our executive committees. And certain things which will get delayed. No, see, I'll tell you, for example, latest thing we are planning for an expansion, the next stage. So there was a school of thought within our company that we should go for a brand new plant with about 150 crore investment coming in. There are opportunities. That what they are saying is absolutely correct. But then there was another school which said, should we jump into that 150 crore investment with one shot? And what will be the consequence of that in terms of financial parameters? Because this is coming from the business side. No? Then we look at our finance people will say, Passer Rizal, will we go for capital raising? Is it rights issue? Will the promoter fund in? What will be the shareholding pattern coming in? People are willing to fund us. So I said, then after that, what is the risk? No? So we have now deliberated and beautifully over a 6 months period, everyone, the board, the executive team has come to a consensus. We will expand in modules, 3 stages. Instead of buying a land, we will take it on lease. We got it on lease. So that progress is going on. So it is not just one person decides everything and all of this. We have a lot of interesting discussions.
Okay. And how do you look at debt as a source to grow your business?
No, we had debts. We take debts, but we make capital sweat. That's the basic principle. We want money to work hard. We have been using debt, and we have not been raising capital. We could have raised easily capital in between for much, but we also borrow. Even the expansion will be a mixture of debt and equity. It's not going to be equity. It is the easiest way. You take equity, and then it's the best combination. Is always best. We feel.
And is this culture spread across the line, down the line also? That is this?
Yeah, I know. That's very good. So that's what we have been doing. What has happened in the last 4 years before I moved from MD to chairman, this executive team, we put them into leadership training. Mr. Ludo, who was the founder director of INSEAD Corporate Governance Center, he comes here every year. And one coach is also involved. Every year they go through, they interact with our team. They individually coach individuals and give me a feedback. What are the strengths, weaknesses? So over a period of time, this culture, we want it to percolate. And others are seeing it. The best way is to show them by example. That's a classic case again. 5 years back when ESOP, I wanted to introduce. And the board said, that's very good, so we will go. Most of the senior executives who are getting benefit said, sir, is it not a trick on us? Will we get any benefit in this option? And the happiest day was last year. A few of them come to me and said, we are crorepati's now. So what better thing we have to have? So each of them at that point of time, they may not like it, but we show to them, no, this is the way we have to move forward. I think our team is really good. I am very confident that this culture will not change. Bringing the culture takes time, challenge, but if you do it over a period of time, gradually, it will get cremated down the line. That's what I think.
Great. And are there any instances where you had to throw somebody out of your office? Because
yes, yeah, we had some people out of office. Definitely, we had instances. No, mainly because I do in the sense, apart from that is needed, we have to set examples. Others are all watching now. The biggest danger is if somebody deserves to be checked out, if you become compassionate on that particular individual, others are watching. So you have to, if you set the rule, you have to follow it meticulously. Otherwise, that's a problem.
So internationally, there has been a lot of what is called investor activism. There are large investors have, take proxy wars and green mail and whatever has been going on for a very long time. It all started in America in the 40s and 50s, and then reached a crescendo in 1980s, and it's still continuing. There are a lot of people Additionally, analysts also, independent analysts also have come in, and they are now openly issuing reports saying that there is problem in this company, and then the short sellers come in and so on and so forth. So that's a very vibrant culture of calling out companies or taking actual, buying stakes, standing up in AGM and asking the board to go. And what are your thoughts? And I mean, we are nowhere near that, of course.
Yeah.
The only example we saw last year was few months ago was Invesco getting riled up about Z. But other than that, we are not nowhere there. What are your thoughts on that?
My thought is simple. See, if you look at the governance system, retail investors are a part of the thing. Hedge funds are a part of the thing. Pension funds are a part of the thing. So they're a part of the system. They should have a voice that is to be heard. Okay, that I agree. But the challenge comes in because each one's investment objective is different. Okay, some is short term, some is medium, some is long. For example, some would be liking for a high dividend payout,
right,
while organization will be looking at a longer term horizon for value creation. These are where the challenges comes in. So right. I think it is, if you can manage them, and Professor Ludo used to mention this beautifully. He said, if you are able to align your shareholders with your objective, that's the best thing, where both are in alignment in the goals. And he says, over a period of time, if you communicate well, you interact well, shareholders who are not in alignment with you will sell it off and go, but some others who will align with you will come in. So I think this kind of extreme thing comes when there is not enough communication, not enough interaction, and not handled well. Otherwise, it is their right to raise voices, and they are able to convince the shareholders, what is not being done is not right. And I think many a time dialogues would have solved it. Even our Indian cases where some resolutions were written on the last 1 year, famous, I am not mentioning the name, could have been sorted out with some dialogue. It is mainly ego, I think, which stands in the way. I have so much so which.
Sure. You did mention the fact that there was resistance to ESOPs, and then now people have come around to seeing the benefit of this. Are there any other examples you can give where any sort of corporate governance or any sort of internal action that you took, there was resistance, but people have started seeing benefit in terms of process, in terms of procedures, any?
Yeah, there are. That is always. It was always there. I'll tell you this initial part we discussed, Indian way of doing business, how I had to change. There were many which were there. So what I did was I did some organization restructuring, wherein we have made the responsibility of business development to one guy, execution to another guy. They will be reporting on separate verticals. So when these came in, what has happened? Many things which were not known earlier were coming to higher ups to the management. So we were able to easily handle the situation. For example, when one person is in charge of the whole thing, he can. And see, for us, it's a big challenge. I do not know. We are not a big organization, but one of the most most complex I have handled in the last 40 years, because we have manufacturing, we have services. And as you really know, none of our competitors have both services and manufacturing. That is our USP. But it's a big challenge to manage it. The reason is, while in servicing it is a productivity optimization, and in manufacturing it is productivity maximization. So if you mingle people, system, process, you will become mediocre. So what we do is keep it as separate vertical till at the highest level. Our level, it only vice president's level, we see a holistic view. The other one will be definitely compartmentalized. Therefore, we were able to succeed. Many challenge this question. Now, they said nobody when I joined, we were in the services sector segment, majority. Single digit was the manufacturing. So what I felt was we are in a core sector. The biggest challenge was it was cyclical. All core sector, very well. Once in 5-7 years, aluminium, iron ore, cement, everything goes to cycle. So our revenue also were highly cyclical. Second, growth rate was all in single digit, at best 10 or 11 in boom period. So I said we are never going to grow beyond that with the cyclicity. So to address cyclicity only, we looked at having manufacturing. So that what we found is in a recessionary phase, people will all enhance the maintenance. Let us maintain that conveyor one more year. So maintenance service revenue will go up. Boom period, even if that belt can be maintained for one more year, let us replace the whole thing. No? So then the manufactured products will get the thing. So we were able to even out that is how we are able to steady the fluctuations in the revenue. Second aspect was after doing this in India, this was the problem. So I told if you have to grow, we have to become global.
Exactly. I
Now,
was going to ask
two
that.
things. Two things. We had two choices. One, get into unrelated areas of business with our as a growth. We can grow that way, or we go geographically. You diversify, get into areas. So we decided on the latter. So we chose Australia, Saudi, and South America because these are the potential areas where we have maximum opportunity. That is where our funding requirement was needed. We went for the issue and then take it.
No, I think it's been a pleasure listening to Sir. I think we would sit down for a longer session sometime.
And then it was a pleasant surprise to hear this. But what I liked is the process you have adopted.
Yes.
See, governance, it's a big challenge and it's a big risk for you also. I realized that. No? See, you give the award to 2-3 corporates, and if they are not very careful, no, it impacts the credibility of the giver also. So it's a very, and and the process you have adopted is amazing. You have gone through research, analytical, 2-3 rounds. We are humbled by we being there. We never expected there to be there.
No, it's a joy to discover such companies and people. I think in these days, I think it's a pleasure is on both sides. Sir.
Governance brings in premium. You will never lose. Provided being honest, being transparent, complying with what is needed for you. Not because the regulator stipulates. What is necessary for you to do it, then definitely it will have a premium coming in the long run. And today, yes.
No, I said, of course, that's very clear. If you see the companies that are getting a valuation premium, all of them are fairly well governed and for a very long time. The duration also matters because to establish this in the minds of investors that I don't have to think about this company, I don't have to worry about this company, which is so it actually addresses the very key element in it addresses a key element in the investment process, which is how to handle risk from their perspective. Risk is substantially reduced if the governance is substantially increased, and people are willing to pay for that. It's as simple as that.
No, at the end of it, now what I feel personally happy is transforming a company, which was just an ordinary one with the kind of governance there. We could transform, and they accepted it. As I mentioned, the full credit to the promoters to believe in. But the transformation, I did it not by creating a kind of turbulence. It was subtle, stage by stage, so that without much adverse impact, we could show them the low-hanging fruits initially. That gave them confidence to get into major ones. So at the end, board constitution itself, to be fair to my independent directors, I said, let us have majority of independent directors. When they are good and they are well-wishers, why should we be worried? Let us listen to them. So we have majority of independent directors. I said, let the core 2 committees be independent directors. You say they are best. Then let them decide and tell us what is the harm. But they delivered. The whole success is that independent director experiment, what we had, they delivered. The way they were able to discuss, convince. And I can tell you, this examples are many, but one very interesting thing I should tell you. Many a time as a chief executive, you are under compulsion, pressure, on terms of numbers, profitability, growth, investor. So I was under such one. What happened was after our global expansion, we did a very ambitious thing. We went to Saudi, we went to Australia and South America simultaneously. I knew this for a company of this size, it is little challenging, but it was the right moment. So I said, let us take a bet, let's move. But in case it fails, what will happen? We will lose some money, but we will be all right. So I said, let's go. We went. what happened? Our recession, no, the global recession came in soon after we invested into these markets. And at that time, Australia subsidiary made a huge loss. Saudi was making a loss. And our balance sheet, after the issue 2 years later, was to be consolidated. And then some of the experts said you can take deferred tax credit, okay, for these loss-making things for your parent company, because next year you are going to make profit. So then there is no issue. You will not have a low profitability this year and all that. When it came to the board, my two other directors said, let us take a bold decision not to take deferred tax. Let us report a lower profit. We know why it is. The investors, and luckily for us, they emerged because the minimum investment is 1 lakh. We have people who are shareholders, about 800 or so, are knowledgeable investors. They will understand. Let us explain. And we took that decision purely because of the independent directors' comment, and that clicked. No, we accepted that. Once we explained, the load was off my shoulders. No, so investors said, okay, fine. And I was very much relieved. So next year we could show a much better return, and that helps. So I think when you change organization, it should be gradual, so that, as Mr. Balakrishnan asked, the culture should get down to the roots. No, so they should think twice. Should be, otherwise you do it for 5 years and you ship the job, company will come back to the back. No, so
It's quite
many such instances.
Great. So we'll, as Bala says, some other time when you're a little free, we'll probably have another session where you can spend more time narrating all these incidents. So great. It was a wonderful experience, Mr. George. Once again, congratulations for being one of the top finalists in the company of all the large and well-known names that we sifted through. We are really glad, as much as you are.